Have you ever wondered why some companies are just, well, good, while others make this incredible leap to become truly great? It's a huge question, and it drove one of the most influential business studies ever. Today, we're going to break down the surprising findings from Jim Collins' classic, Good to Great. So this was the central question. Can a good company actually become a great one? And if it can, what's the magic formula? This wasn't just a thought experiment. It launched a massive 5-year research project. The team combed through over 1,400 companies to find the very, very few that made a quantifiable jump from good to great. And, this is key, kept it that way for at least 15 years. They weren't looking for companies that were always fantastic, but for the ones that really, truly transformed. And the results of that transformation? Well, they were absolutely staggering. When the researchers charted the performance of these companies, 15 years after their transition point, the difference was just undeniable. These companies didn't just squeak by the market, they completely blew it out of the water. I mean, look at this number. The sheer scale of this is mind-boggling. On average, these once kinda unremarkable companies generated stock returns that were nearly 7 times greater than the general market. To put that into perspective for you, even a fund of corporate darlings, think Coca-Cola, Intel, GE, only beat the market by 2.5 times. So, what was their secret? What were they doing so differently? Well, the very first clue was maybe the biggest surprise of the whole study. The researchers went in thinking they'd find these big, charismatic celebrity CEOs driving the change. But what they found was something else entirely, something they ended up calling level 5 leadership. The leaders at the helm of these companies were just not what you'd expect at all. They weren't the larger-than-life personalities you see on magazine covers. Instead, they had this really rare, almost contradictory mix of traits. On one hand, these leaders had this deep, personal humility. They were modest, kind of quiet, and they always shunned the spotlight. But, and this is a huge but, on the other hand, they had this ferocious professional will. They were fanatically driven to produce the best long-term results. It was never, ever about them. It was always about the company. Take a guy like Darwin Smith. He was this mild-mannered in-house lawyer who turned Kimberly-Clark into the #1 paper-based consumer products company in the world. He was shy, totally unpretentious, but he had this fierce, stoic resolve. He's the perfect example of a leader who was way more plow horse than show horse, just completely focused on building something great that would last. All right, so you've got this unusual type of leader at the top. The next steps also flew in the face of conventional wisdom. See, these transformations didn't kick off with some grand new strategy or vision. Nope, they started with people. The good to great leaders were obsessed with a simple idea. First who, then what. Imagine a bus. Their first job was getting the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and putting the right people in the right seats. Only after they did all that did they even think about where to drive the bus. Why? Because if you have the right people, you don't have to waste time motivating them, and you can adapt to anything together. This is such a powerful insight. The who questions have to come before the what questions. A brilliant vision doesn't mean a thing if you don't have the right people to make it happen. It's about prioritizing character and raw ability over just specific skills. And once you have the right people, you need the right mindset. They called this the Stockdale Paradox, named after Admiral Jim Stockdale, who was a prisoner of war in Vietnam. It's this incredible duality. You have to maintain this unwavering faith that you're going to win in the end, no matter what. But at the exact same time, you have to confront the most brutal, harsh facts of your current reality. No burying your head in the sand. Now, this process of facing the brutal facts isn't about coming up with some 100-page strategic plan. It's about finding one single, profoundly simple idea that cuts through all the noise. It's about becoming a hedgehog. You know that old parable, the fox knows many, many things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing? Well, the good to great companies were all hedgehogs. They didn't jump around between dozens of different ideas. They found the one simple unifying concept that guided every single thing they did. So how do you find this concept? It comes from asking 3 brutally honest questions. First, what can you truly be the absolute best in the world at? And what can you not be the best at? Second, what drives your economic engine? Like, what's your single most important financial metric? And third, what are you and your people just deeply, truly passionate about?
See, the hedgehog concept isn't a goal you just make up. It's a deep understanding you discover. It's that clarifying insight you find right in the middle, where those three circles overlap. For instance, Walgreens realized it could be the best in the world at convenient drugstores, driven by profit per customer visit, which was something they were super passionate about. It sounds simple, but it was unbelievably powerful.
Okay, so you have a level 5 leader, you've got the right people, and you have your hedgehog concept. But how do you actually get results? This final big idea just completely shatters the myth of the miracle moment. Transformation isn't one big dramatic event, it's a process. I want you to picture pushing a giant, heavy flywheel. That first push is incredibly hard, right? The wheel barely even moves. This is that slow, unglamorous build-up phase. But you keep pushing in the same direction, turn after turn. The effort starts to add up. The wheel picks up a little speed, and you can start to feel the momentum building. After hundreds of consistent turns, that flywheel is spinning faster and faster. Its own massive weight is now working for you, creating this almost unstoppable force. And then, a breakthrough. From the outside, it looks like an overnight success story. But for everyone on the inside, it's just the logical, inevitable result of all that consistent, relentless pushing.
And this contrast right here is what separated the good to great companies from all the others. The great ones patiently built momentum with their flywheel. The other companies? They were stuck in what the researchers called a doom loop, just lurching from one new program to the next, reacting to fads, always changing direction, and killing any momentum before it could even get started. So let's just quickly recap what this research tells us does not create greatness. It is not about hiring a celebrity CEO from the outside. It is not about creating a strategy before you have the right people. Technology is an accelerator, not a creator of momentum. And it is certainly not about big, splashy acquisitions or some single revolutionary program. Instead, the path is this beautifully simple, logical progression. It all starts with disciplined people, level 5 leaders, and the right team. That foundation leads to disciplined thought, confronting the brutal facts to find your hedgehog concept. And that, in turn, allows for disciplined action, just relentlessly pushing that flywheel, turn after turn, to build unstoppable momentum. In the end, building something great isn't really about a revolution. It's about a quiet, deliberate process that creates these spectacular results. It's less about brute force and more about the elegant physics of momentum. So I guess the question for all of us is, where can you start pushing your own flywheel?